So today will be a packed show. It's full of many insights about the energy body. And before we get into the topic, I want to give out the phone number to call in for questions. The number is 347-966-5688. And just press 1 to alert me to let me know that you're on switchboard. You can also post your questions on Blog Talk Radio chat box or the Resistance chat box. And, of course, we have Sevan on the show. And thank you so much, Sevan, for coming on to help me out there. And I just have my speaker on mute, so I won't be able to hear you. So I'm just going to go on with this information. So healing and feeding the energy body. And a question that I wanted to put out to everyone is, when we consume, when we want to nourish our body, do you know which body you're feeding? So which body are you actually feeding? And with this question, don't be thrown off by the words consuming and feeding. I'm not only speaking about ingesting food here. Energy is constantly being exchanged in our realities, and it manifests in many forms. An example I want to use about energy to elaborate on is work. And it's a form of energy exchange that many beings are engaged in. If a being from another planet was to come to visit this one, like on a weekday, they would see everyone engaged in work in exchange for currency to survive. They would notice that many are detached from their employment, and if they could see with a spiritual sight, they would see that many are working, but their bodies are somewhere else. Some beings are wishing to be back in bed. Others are drifting in and out, wishing for another reality. And there would be ones that are stuck in past bliss or past pain, and then there are others that are lost in the pursuit of more energy, power. In all, no one is present in the moment with full focus, in joy, and in activation of what they're doing. The majority are only working in exchange for currency. They're detached from exactly what they are involved in. And this connection on a microscopic scale is one of the reasons why the planet is in jeopardy on the grand scale. Currency is what activates many beings to get out of bed and engage in something which eventually becomes a mindless activity. They are trapped in the many cycles of growth and decline of their economies and are in constant state of reaction and protection of only their being. This detachment will extend to the environment, to family life, and to the greater collective. The lucky few are able to pursue a reality where they have achieved their dreams and are engaged in active work, aligning with their mind and spirit. But until all reach this level, they too are not immune to the cycles of growth and decline of the economy, because they too are in need of this currency. They survive on their talents, and depending on the energies they align with, they are either engaged in helping the masses to become more conscious, or are hindering the masses with their talents by distracting them to become more unconscious. Fear of scarcity depletes many beings. In fact, the energy of work produces so much abundance in all societies that disposal of the accumulated product seems to become a challenge with every year, with every generation. So much environmental waste are created in order to gain more currency for the larger collective, for corporations. And they are run by few individuals that are not mindlessly engaged at all. The masses follow without any thought of how each of their energies are being depleted daily. Again, back to the being from the other planet visiting us. They would see many beings working mindlessly, driving mindlessly, and seeking more activities like entertainment to be engaged in mindlessly. Most beings are not engaged in any form of growth that would expand their awareness of spirit or even expand their present lives. If only they would engage in their minds into forms of study that would benefit not only them but those around them. Majority of these beings have sold their creative energies to gain currency, to appease this illusionary fear called scarcity. Many are manipulated and activated by this fear. All one has to do is read the newspaper, and there every reporter is engaged in some scale of revealing the new fear of the day. There's no place that is safe for these beings, not even inside their homes. Fearful things are all around, and daily they are feeding off of these fearful reports. To not have a day without fear is also frightening. So I will ask you now, are you truly feeding, nurturing your body, your mind, and spirit, or are you being fed on? Consumption is not only limited through food. We are to become aware that we are energy. We are beings of energy. This knowledge is, of course, hidden from us, However, once we learn this truth, we will be able to advance ourselves by being conscious of these energies on a daily basis. We are energy, therefore we have to stay on the path of higher energies. So how can one be fed on? This can be accomplished by many levels, but I can return to the same example of currency and work. Once beings gain their currency, now they have to use it to keep the flow of the currency moving. Otherwise, this illusion would disappear and create a collapse of this material. Every being then becomes engaged in the energy of consumption. Now they're known as consumers or customers. It's a custom. And when I was learning English in my youth, I used to believe the two words custom and costume meant the same thing until the teacher had to correct me. But lately, I'm starting to come back to my original thoughts. It's an activity that really is a facade, which is accustomed to buy and wear costumes, which make beings consumers. Beings are all engaged in this activity and put on these costumes, walking around mindlessly to attain external energy. They want others to fuel them with their attention to their costumes that they spend a great deal of energy attaining, hoping it would fill the emptiness they feel from not awakening to their inner truth. So this custom of wearing and buying costumes to attain energy, this is a form of consumption. Yet which body is it nourishing? Many organizations are more than willing to help the masses keep up this facade, and every generation the madness gets worse. Energy is put together in pursuit of youth and beauty. Anything old is perceived to be obsolete. The collective energy wants the latest, the newest, and the most advanced. The most intelligent and talented and skillful in our societies are put to work in exchange for currency to achieve these mindless pursuits to keep up illusions for the masses. And our conscious youth are left without a solid present guidance. Their blooming high aspirations to better our world are not cultivated in a society that is lost in its own madness. Neglected, they turn to other energies to vent their anger and frustrations. These beautiful creatures become lost in the sea of mindless souls, their creative gifts and talents lost in a stream of empty illusions. As conscious beings, we need to become in charge of our reality and become present in our daily interactions. We know now that we are activated. We have been all this time, but the past energies we followed no longer serve us now. So, how do the three bodies consume? And this is something I was reflecting on, and this is what I came up with. And we all know the physical body consumes through food and receives nourishments from it, from the many nutrients and minerals available in each meal. And it provides the body energy to survive and live. And our society, with this dichotomy of having abundance, yet always believing in scarcity, overconsumes. And we become beings that just live to eat rather than eating to live. The body requires very little food, and provided that one eats the right foods to be able to function, once that is achieved, one can be productive and have an abundance of energy to pursue creative energies. When the body doesn't have the use of all of its energies to digest, absorb, eliminate, and waste, the body will sleep less. So when the body doesn't have to perform all of those functions, use all of its energy to perform those functions, the body will sleep less and rise early, refreshed. A nourished body can start to use this extra time to study and pursue other interests that are not activated by currency, but by creativity, by curiosity for inner truth. This being will be a lot more balanced and centered than a being rising just before the time they need to leave to head to work to have another mindless day. Once a being starts to accumulate this knowledge, they'll be better able to navigate their life and be of service to others. And this service will provide them sustenance to sustain their livelihood. Eventually, more will align with this way of life, and communities will emerge, vibrating with this energy and creating this collective pursuit of inner truth, of inner happiness, rather than for currency. More meaningful exchanges of energy will start to appear, and beings will be able to live consciously with no fear from one another, from external energies. The mind consumes on another level. And to keep the mind engaged through study is one form of consumption that benefits the mind in a positive way. To not engage the mind will lead a being to come under the influence of the external energies that will do anything to entertain and distract the mind. Even our own experience, whether positive or negative, will distract the mind. A constant balance of meditation, reflection, and study will keep the mind engaged in activation. And later on, I'll also use examples from other beings that have a way of keeping the mind engaged. Whenever we learn something new, our brain expands on the physical level with new neural pathways. We have more depth and understanding in our reality, and we become more confident in ourselves, in our surrounding. Again, fear will start to lose its hold on us when we engage the mind. From this perspective of activation, it's important to lose fear. And you will start to lose fear when you start to pursue the hidden knowledge. And we'll be traveling to many spans of consciousness and become with many beings from different realms. And to be in fear of every encounter, we will lose valuable growth. Fear keeps one in an imaginary cocoon. Once one starts to pursue their path to inner growth and begins to awaken, they initially feel frustrated for not being able to see through the veils. I would guide these beings by first instructing them to cultivate courage. From all the years of cultivating fear, their higher awareness has become hidden by their own protection. This was not done to them, but it was done by them, because they are energy, and their inner truth has become hidden in order for them to experience this reality in their own terms. We are the ones who create our own fortresses, and of course we are the ones who can break it down. Many always seek to and say, I want to see truth, yet they are already engaged in it. We are all now together in this form of exchange in communication. We are learning about higher energies. Therefore, we are aligned with higher energies through each other. Sight is not only limited to the eyes, just as consumption is not only limited through consuming food. Higher energies communicate on another level, and to be able to perceive this communication, one has to be still enough for a vision, and with confidence, with courage, be able to interpret the meaning of this inner truth for oneself. On the last show, Sevan gave us a great insight on vision, and I want to share this again with everyone to reflect on this information. He said the body is full of eyes. Certain eyes are closed and certain eyes are open. On each of these eyes, the irises have keyholes with different shapes that correspond to different creatures of this planet. There are gates that give you insight to another level of perception that are different from the known 7 chakras. This experience is symbiotic with the planet, which takes energy and gives energy back. Once we tap into the higher energies, just like this planet, we have to breathe it back into our realities to be taken in by those around us. This creates a positive environment for everyone. And on the flip side, the beings connected with the negative energies are also breathing this out to their realities, creating negative experience that is absorbed by others. And this is why we need to be strong and courageous in our pursuits and go beyond to align with the higher energies. Our higher sight is not only limited to the third eye. We have many eyes within the body that are aware, experiencing, and exploring our reality. By focusing on just one, limits a being. It is similar to saying that the body functions because of just one organ. Our body functions from a collective energies of many cells, tissues, and organs, each with their own specific task, and not one is more important than the other. All serve well for the collective body. So now the spirit. And how does the spirit consume? Because spirit is subtle energy in our reality, consumption of the spirit thus is subtle in nature. The spirit attains energy from higher vibrations, from essence, from activities that align beings with higher energies. And vibrations can be frequency, sound, voices, music, the wind that's speaking through the water, through the ocean, from vibrations of nature. These experiences fuel the spirit to feel replenished from the negative vibrations that deplete the energies of the spirit. And that's through artificial sound. And that doesn't carry resonance with the higher energies. or the higher states. And these are noises from machines, from automobiles, from sirens, and this can go on just from the psychic pollution one experiences from being in an environment that's full of a great population of people. The spirit consumes essence. And I want to share an example that I can really put a picture in your head about how a spirit consumes essence. And I want to use the Japanese language as an example. Before the Japanese consume each meal, they say an expression, which is itadakimasu, and it means I humbly receive. Visually, they mean I receive the essence of this meal for my spirit, because the word energy in Japanese is ki. And this expression, itadakimasu, has ki in there. So they are recognizing that all the energies that went into growing, cultivating, harvesting, producing, creating this meal, the essence and the energy that created this meal, it's not lost to them in this expression. And in humility, they receive this energy to keep their energies going. And they are aligning with the higher energies with this expression. So when I originally learned this expression, I was really deeply moved by it because it awakened an ancient memory for me. We lost this gracious expression in our languages. We are always thanking external beings, and these are beings that are feeding off of us, rather than being thankful to the energies that cultivate us, that sustain us. And we just lost the art of being grateful. When we consume meals, we just eat mindlessly, not realizing all the energies that it took to create the food, even the dish, the cup, the utensils that we're eating out of. It's the essence that fuels the spirit, and we have to gravitate to this to keep our spirits high. So meaningful connections with one another, and to actually go and see somebody rather than just texting them from an Android phone. Communication on a higher level is essence that nourishes the spirit, connecting with beings, communicating with your whole being. And we can also communicate with our eyes, and we can connect with touch, with joining hands and greeting, and receiving a hug and giving a hug. These are all deep, deep connections that fuel the spirit. And again, there's essence in many forms. There's the beauty of life, nature, of intimate connections, of deep breathing, of aromatherapy from incense and oils, of healing energy from crystals. And there's essence from the eyes of an awakened being, from children, and the joy of exploring and learning our realities, of sharing and creating gifts with others to align with their inner gifts, from stillness to perceive eternity. These all fuel and feed the spirit. And cultivating a life with deep essence balances all the bodies, where a being will be able to have a chance to access higher energies to refuel and replenish themselves. With all the activities that help nourish and fuel and feed the body, we need to learn how to balance. Anything that is positive for us can also become negative when it becomes over-focused. It can become a block. So we have to be able to have the maturity and the courage to know when we have enough nourishment from an activity. The goal is not to be attached. And as activated beings, we're in a constant state of growth and learning. Activation means you are always moving. So to be stuck in something, even if it's positive, that will not serve our growth. And lastly, I want to talk about healing the energy body. And from all the information about feeding and consuming all the other bodies, it will be easy to understand healing, because when one focuses on functioning with the higher energies, healing becomes natural. So just listen closely to this, and I want everyone to really pay attention to this information. When it comes to healing, everybody is a healer. Anybody can be a healer. If your body can heal a wound, you are a healer. You see? The next step is to align with higher energies if you want to become an external healer. When one becomes activated, they start to feel their inner chi. You start to feel this electric energy within you and around your body. And you just magnetate. There's this magnetism about you. And you naturally vibrate and you want to connect with others. And that's a form of healing work. Just because there's many forms of eyes to see and perceive this reality. There's many forms of consumption besides food. Now there's many forms of healing. For me, this is a form of healing work. By being able to communicate and connect with everyone, to share this information, I'm able to perceive the higher energies through this and through everyone. And it resonates with me, and it also resonates with the beings that are listening to this. There are beings who can heal with their sight alone, and they can just use their inner vision to see ailments, to heal a body, and they can do this also from a distance. And an example of this is done by a young man from Vancouver, Canada, and his name is Adam. And he wrote a book called The Path of the Dream Healer, The Quantum World of Energy Healing. And there are many examples that he gives on YouTube that you can also look into that. And I was also inspired by a man from Japan who passed away in the 1950s. And he taught a form of healing called the Okada Purifying Therapy, OPT. And his name was Mokichi Okada. And this therapy is not really known in the West. Many are familiar with Reiki, but this is a little bit different from Reiki. And I'll explain in a little bit. Okada grew up with experiencing the World War. So he experienced both World War I and World War II. So he had a very harsh reality compared to ours. And he experienced a lot of pain and disassociation from his reality. So he activated, and he wanted others to start to activate. So he started aligning beings with coming back into stillness, into nature. So he taught them and started learning organic farming. He communicated them to stop consuming animal flesh, so they became vegetarians. He brought beauty back into their lives. So he started collecting art and teaching their ancient practices like ikebana, which is an artistic form of flower arrangements, and the Japanese tea ceremony. And from a lifetime of collecting art, he opened many museums in Japan, and as the funding from that started supporting these positive communities that he created. And these activities help a being align with the three bodies because they're engaged in a form of creative work. You have to use your whole mind, body, and spirit to create art, nutritious meals, cultivating a farm, a garden, just working on anything creative, could be anything. And a being is activated by the spirit rather than by currency. And his last gift to everyone was this healing work through the chi. And what it does, it heightens the healing ability of the person that's being treated. The person is not giving anything to anybody. They're just heightening the healing work. So Japan is the only country that I'm aware of that uses this therapy in conjunction with the medical, with the hospitals. And there's also research that's proven that this form of healing work actually works. And from these beings that are actively using their healing abilities to heal beings, we're supposed to just learn from them and not make them above us in any way, because they've connected with the higher energies, and so can we. And we can all connect with these energies, and they will help us to become present, to achieve stillness, and have the opportunity to receive guidance from within. When one is constantly aligned with their being, they are healing all the bodies simultaneously. When they become more conscious of this healing work, they can transfer this to others in many forms. So I just want to check in on the chat box and also check in with Sevan. So I'm just going to put the speaker up. Hopefully, I'm not going to hear a lot of feedback, so just give me one moment. Okay, so I'm still getting feedback, so I'm just going to allow Sevan to go ahead and start talking, and I'm just going to sit back and let him do the show for a bit because it's really distracting me. So go ahead, Sevan.
Okay, awesome. Wholeness and balance vibration to everyone. I think, Satori, also, if you just turn your volume down a little bit, or if you have some headphones, you should be able to eliminate the feedback because it's just another mic picking it up or two mics picking it up at the same time. And, man, what an awesome show. I'm happy I have an opportunity to just go back and listen to this show again because there was just so much information revealed and it was just so clear. And, of course, I'm waiting your book, which should be coming out, I guess, within the next 2 or 3 months?
My book?
Yeah.
Yeah, around that time, correct.
Yeah, I mean, I know just information is a lot of times what we see now is that things are really simple. But it's about common sense, and it's about being able to have the clarity or the focus to just listen to what's being said. And that's why everyone now has this opportunity to take this time and to take this information and to realize it's really new to us because of the hemisphere and the culture that we've been raised in, or the costume that we've been made to put on. And it's funny that you're talking about that, because the other day I was sitting down in deep contemplation about a suit and what the word actually meant in a uniform, and how the color, like with, for instance, police officers, the color they wear, the star they wear, the colors that they use, all make them a certain form. And to other beings, they could see just the shape of that form and know exactly what it is. And that's how they're able to take in so much data, is because they have things, for better, supposed to be, so that they can skim over and really see when there's something different or there's something that's odd around. And for our realization to understand exactly where this can really go, meaning by what we've discovered thus far, what could really be the height. I was talking to Pablo last night, and we were just discussing just so much now that we've discovered that the English language has in it. And I've now finished off the full discovery of the English language being 26 characters is actually a cube itself. And the whole Jehovah or Yahweh religion, which still means God is, as they say in the Bible, the God is man, is an actual system and teaching that came from a sun, basically a solar body. And it was based on the level of the cube. And, of course, now that's been completely corrupted. And we've been restoring a lot of that information to get the deeper meanings of it. And there's going to definitely be some publications released here in a moment revealing to people the true knowledge of the English language and what exactly it's reflecting on us. But the main thing is there's other languages, even some that are here on Earth with us. Of course, many of the languages, as we talked about, are extraterrestrial. But there are other languages that are here on the Earth with us that also have no connection to our alphabet or our numbering system. And there's a story within those languages also. And that's what just became interesting, because the fact is that because as human beings, or if you look at computers, they're operating on a 0 to 1 system, so just 2 digits. But look how much a computer can really do. But if you look at a human being and they're going from 0 to 9, and that is exactly why our reality can be perceived as such, meaning that that's such a large jump from what a computer can do, so you're now understanding what you're really capable of doing. But what of these systems that are built with different characters? Because each number now is, to my understanding, an archetype. And that's why I was actually typing on my Skype the word num, which is the root to the word numbers. Just means plural, is the indication of something that makes you not have feeling after a while. And if you understand that, as someone was talking to me about the other day, that the numbers are really the more of the masculine impression, and while the waveforms and the sound are the feminine impression on the reality, that too much numbers, as we know, too much analytical data or masculine interpretation gets one a little bit unsensitive. And that's why our whole duty and obligation here was to learn from each other, so that what becomes of that is a process that I've been using lately, which is to use this other side to me that sees a different way, and it sees it visually if it's true or not. It's basically like if I look at an iPhone, it's glowing red. So I can use that interpretation, but I can also use my male interpretation, because we know phones emit radiation, they're no good. We can look at the compound of it, and et cetera, and understand, okay, this is harmful for me. But many times that way of teaching has never been sustainable for a spiritual being only. Like, a spiritual being cannot just receive data and even believe that data. It has to actually experience it, and that's what the feminine side of us does, is it says, well, it's glowing red, and if you touch it now, you'll see that it kind of hurts. And so this is what's really been happening to humanity, is it's being numbed and dulled out of its senses. And now we're going to restore the pure salts, because even salt plays such an important role in a person's senses being tuned up properly. And this is not even just referring to like table salt, which is extremely horrible for a person, but also, and not even biochemical salts, but there are other flavoring salts that were used that were on a whole different quality than what we're using now. And so what we're definitely going to be digging a lot more into is the chemistry, because the fact is, if you one of the biggest things, not if you, but one of the biggest things here is to master for yourself exactly how to become a chemist. And your body does this all the time. And I love the example of when your wound heals, that already means you're a healer. So it's the same thing. If your body is capable of doing all these chemical compounds and sending the food to where it needs to be and separating it, then you have that ability to do that also. Now you have to learn how to do that externally. And because that is what's going to allow you to become more expansive in this dimension, because it's full of different trees and different elements and things that can be mixed together to bring about a certain result. And what we have with our reality is that everything has a positive and a negative side to it, and that's what really makes them the same. Light, like we were listening to some recordings and understanding that light is not opposite of darkness. They actually need each other to coexist. So because of that, they're the same. And those light and darkness symbolize the two pillars, or the number 11. And that really more has to do with generation. And then we have to ask ourselves, when was man ever responsible for generating, even especially by himself, but when was he ever responsible for generating or creating something? And so this gets more deeper into the origins of the original creator or authenticator of the Bible being more of a feminine spirit with a masculine component, meaning it has, just like you see in nature, the ability to pollinate and the ability to germinate. And so, but still understanding what we've been doing lately, and this comes from the last, I don't know how many thousands of years, is using one word to describe something that has so many meanings. And the fact is now we're seeing, especially within these ancient languages, that for every single particular essence, they had a different word for it that more corresponded to the tone and the vibration of that particular essence. That way it was never confused. English was more of that allowed a person to kind of get stuck or netted and keep them trapped in their mind. And so the biggest thing we're working on now is the deprogramming. We're not really as interested now in just giving information and having people learn information more than we want to be now interested in just deprogramming people, because all the information is right there in front of them with their daily life, their name, their numbers, where they live, who they're around. And it's just about them being able to see that, to completely lift the veil from themselves so that they can experience their own lives again. And it's very interesting, again, that Kayal brought up the difference in the eyes again, because the fact is that our levels of perception in our reality are going to control our experience. And so who has that been controlled by? And as I said to some people the other day, I believe a very great deal of what we're experiencing is what we keep blogging about, meaning that all these people that are on this higher level of information, et cetera, and they're writing about this stuff and the chemtrails and the HAARP and things like that, but they're not taking into account how that may be affecting them daily. And so it's just about staying awake all the time and watching every single thing that you do to get full meaning out of it so that you can remain nurtured in this environment, and you can stay in balance with your body, mind, and soul. And so I'm not sure exactly how much time we have left on the show.
Yeah, and, we have about 20 minutes left, and I see two hands that are up on switchboard. Did you want to take questions?
Oh, yeah, I mean, it's your show.
Okay, so I'm going to take the first question. So area code 980, you're on the air.
Yes, hi. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
Thank you very much for taking my call.
Okay. What's your question?
Well, I work with my Kundalini energy, but a lot of times I don't feel like it's as strong as it once was. Is there anything you could recommend I could do possibly to be able to receive more energy, so to speak? I do like to meditate outside and things of that nature, and I try and keep myself well grounded and balanced.
Okay, so your question is that you originally had a Kundalini experience, and it's no longer as strong for you, and you also want to know about grounding. Is that right?
Yes, I work on grounding just to try and receive the energy, and I do try and meditate, like with the sun and things of that nature, but I just don't quite feel like I'm pulling in as much, and it's a little bit harder for me to astral travel and things of that nature, and I've been experiencing this now about a month, and I noticed, like, drastic changes. Yeah.
Did you have an experience that just sort of made you stop, like what you were doing before? Like, have you just kind of phased out about it, or do you know what I mean by that question?
Well, I actually had like a healing experience with the spirit, and it was, very amazing, and it even heightened my level of awareness, so to speak.
Yes.
And I tried to concentrate more on keeping myself grounded and just being ready to find out more or meet more or keep going. But last month or so, I just feel stagnant.
It's stagnant. Okay, so what I wanted to tell you, from Chi, from the Kundalini, it is always present inside your body. It never goes away. It just becomes dormant. And I feel that when someone activated it and originally felt it, it's supposed to balance itself in that being. It's supposed to sort of, become...
Well, yeah, I can feel it. I don't mean to cut you off, but yes, I literally can still feel my prana or the chi energy.
Correct.
It's just not as strong as it once was.
And what I would say, it's because now... Look at it like this. I don't know what other example to use, but it's sort of like, having that first high, I guess. It's like once you've experienced it, once you've experienced it, you're already in that realm. Of course, it's not going to be the same intensity as the first time because you're in that level now. Now you have to keep going higher, and you have to keep doing it different. So you have to change up your meals. Like, you have to eat more lighter foods. And there were times where even myself where I had to go from solids to liquids, to raw food and stop eating grains. And I would need to even stop eating root vegetables because I didn't want to feel grounded anymore. I wanted to feel more alkaline. So I would say, I would say you're already there. You don't, you won't feel it the first time like you did originally because you were feeling it from a body that didn't awaken its Kundalini. And once you've awakened your Kundalini, you're already there now. And and you sense it, So it's just expanding itself within your body. So again, sorry.
I also had a little bit to add to that.
Sure.
I don't know if I'm still on air. I think I'm on air.
Yeah, you are. Yes.
But it's amazing that this actually comes up. I mean, the word was diagnostic. That was really the word for this week that kind of hit me in the head. But just understanding what Gnosticism is and the ability to know without being told. And then this word diagnostics, which hints to us basically that we're supposed to have this ability of being able to tell what a person's going through and from another psychic level, basically. And it's very interesting that we just really came into another season, which was the summer, the summer solstice, as they call it, or something like that? Basically, summer solstice. And the interesting part was I was laying down sleep the other night, and I was just getting a direct communication between just the field. And it was explained to me how because we were in this animal body, that we were subject to also going into heat. And I was like, well, what are you trying to explain to me? And it was saying that at times our body and our energy is dormant because in certain seasons it's supposed to be high and other seasons it's supposed to be low. You're like, it's an ebb and a flow. And during the wintertime, you're kind of supposed to chill out. Everything should have already been done. You should not set out to do new ventures when it's time to be
hibernating.
Right, and what we had just come into recently, first of all, there was like a week or 2 weeks of a really low point because it's like the lowest point of that previous energy. And then this new energy came in, this heat, which is more like fire, and it's more attached to Kundalini, especially...
You just reminded me of waking up 2 nights in a row of just feeling Oh, man, the heat was unbelievably just hot, like literally like if I was inside of an inferno, so to speak. And it was so intense that it woke me out of my sleep. And it wasn't dangerously feeling, like I didn't get scared or frightened, but I definitely did try and remember, really quickly my dreams that I was having. But, yeah, like that's happened about twice within the last week. So, wow, you guys, and I must say I've been skipping on the healthy diet, so to speak, where I have been eating a lot of grains, and so maybe even that. So, man, thank you guys so very much. I really do appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
That's what we're here for. I mean, it's just awesome, especially to be able to remember to communicate that information about the changes in the body that take place during the season. But, of course, even the organs only can be cleaned in certain seasons also. Isn't that right?
Yep, Yep, that's right. Yeah, the traditional Chinese medicine, they have certain organs that need to be cleansed. And, like you need to be cleansing the kidney in the winter times, I believe, and then in the liver would be like in the season, like the spring and summer. So even the organs, you have to, there's certain specific seasons you're supposed to cleanse.
Wow. Yep, and then also because we know that our body definitely is the map of the cosmos, definitely the dodecahedron pattern, that there's a lot about every time a season changes, that season changes in the body. And that definitely, I think you may have to mute your line, but that definitely also leads to what we were talking about with the Bhagavad Gita, is the battlefield of the mind. That's exactly what's taking place here now, is that all of what we've been seeing externally and what they want to report to us is taking place inside of us. These pole shifts, people becoming bipolar, these planets that are clashing and colliding with each other, and these gods that are at war, and all this is definitely going on inside and outside. People should not forget. We've been now bumped up to a level where they expect for us to handle our internal and external world accordingly, and it's in a time or linear status, which means that we have an opportunity to act out what we're feeling inside as a confirmation. Because they say sometimes when you do things one time, sometimes even if you make a mistake, you want a second chance. Or if you make the right decision, there's a lot of times they want to make sure you were going to make that right decision. So this creates a second time. And we're going to talk about this again next week on next week's show, because it's more based on that. And I definitely just wanted to stay on the body thing today, because I just feel like, especially lately, these shows have been so exemplary. They've been helpful to me, and they've been helpful to so many, to just allow them to wake up, see exactly what's in front of them, use their common sense, and just get into it.
Cool.
It's just awesome.
Thank you. What I'll do now is get another caller in, and thank you so much for being patient. So caller, area code 702. Go ahead. Hello? Hi.
Can
you
hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you clearly, yeah.
Hi. I just wanted to call in. This is my first time actually getting through, so I just wanted to call in to thank both of you for so much information, and I'm totally grateful for receiving what you gave me today, and I will continue to follow you, Sevan. And I'm sorry, I don't know your name. I just called in because I just received this email, and I said, let me call in and see what's going on today. So I'm sorry if I don't know your name.
Just call me Moon. Call me Moon.
Moon. I love it. So I just my name is Princetta. I actually make natural skincare products, and I'm into the natural thing, and I'm just trying to get it together. So just listening to you guys, I just want to thank you so very much. I am so grateful that you actually are helping others and actually getting the information out there. So I don't want to hold up your lines. That's all I really wanted to say to you.
Thank you, Priscilla. Thank you so much. That's really wonderful to hear that. That's amazing feedback, and I know it really fuels me to keep going and connecting with everyone. Like, I like connecting in this level with everybody. So, Sevan, I still have you on the line, so we're going to go to the next caller. And thank you so much. Area code 239. Go ahead. You're on the air. Hello?
Oh, yeah. This is Calvin.
Hi, Calvin. Did you have a question?
About the music scale. Can you feed yourself by playing different musical notes? And because I heard our number scale is wrong, the 440. And I was seeing if we change that, like raising it, will it also raise our vibration?
Yes. Yes, definitely. It's a really great question, and I'm really glad you asked this because I was actually trying out some frequency meditations that I found on the Resistance website, on the audio downloads. And one of the scales, I believe, was like the F-sharp scale, and it was like an hour-long meditation. So I know Sevan is really familiar with frequency treatments. That's pretty much, he has a really good background with that. So I'll just give him this question. Sevan, are you there?
Yep, I'm here. And, okay, so we'll just talk about really briefly. I think we got about how much more time left in the show?
We have 9 minutes.
Okay. So basically what we did discover is that there was a change by a gentleman that was a member of the Nazi Party. I think his name was Gooblers. But they had changed the frequency, the tuning frequency from 432 to 440. And this, of course, makes up the composition of our dial tone and many of the different things that we're made to listen to every day. And this eventually depletes our body completely and causes an eradication within our body. So the question is, well, if it's retuned, then will this heal us? That's 100% true. And there's also a lot of work that's already done on this. What we've been working on now is really vortex imprinting, which is how to, the same thing that Roy Rife was really trying to get to is how can you completely pierce the cellular level of a person that doesn't understand how to connect to themselves on the cellular level with a tone. Meaning that just generally, if you fire the frequency from, let's say, a guitar tuned properly at a person, it will only penetrate them to a certain level. To make sure that they got this frequency, for better lack of words, you would have to use a carrier wave, or in so many words, another kind of carrier that's going to take the tone right into where it needs to go, which is all the way on the cellular level, so it can affect the person on the cellular level. Now, of course, in meditation, that's why the guy ended up discovering the DNA, is on the meditations, you're into a quantum level of communication. And so meditating while hearing your tones is the best thing. And here's another interesting thing. If you're a person that's very audible, if you can actually get recordings of yourself toning, because this is what a lady that was out of Canada that had many different awards that she won for her dancing skills, she said it was so important for her just to simply tune herself verbally to the scale that was, I think it's su, ut, re, mi, fa, sol, la. So it's not the same one that we normally use now. It's the oldest one. And that was important to do from that level. And then recording yourself, going into a meditation, and then listening to yourself. Because for those who've reached the higher states of meditation, they understand that after a while, things start to sound different. Like if you're playing noises and things like that, they start to sound different. And connecting more with yourself on that level is another way. And so what you're really looking at here is you're looking at two things meeting each other in the middle. You have your external, like your tape recording of yourself, coming in one direction, while your internal, your meditation, is coming in another. It's called intoning, which is you're just saying the sound or making the sound in your mind without making any audible sound, for better lack of words, out of your mouth. And when these two connect, this is the only way I can easily explain it is like the picture of Leonardo or Michelangelo where he shows God touching the hand of man. It's simply the analogy of the external touching your internal so that they actually connect, where in most cases it's most of the time unbalanced. Most people get a lot of feedback from the outside and then they're very closed up in the inside. They only react. This is about reacting and something is acting on you so that you guys meet at a certain space. So the communication is a lot different. And many are experiencing this also with what we're calling the gods, because instead of actually worshiping and bowing down to the gods and things of that nature, which is only a one-sided level of communication, more like a monologue, I'd like to always say on your knees and bow down is not really a way to communicate. The fact is that many are meeting and asking questions to many of these beings that they know and have confirmed that exist, and it's like on the same level. And then those beings are in turn being put on under some type of universal law. I guess it's like one of the same things that work with the FBI, where if you ask, hey, are you an FBI agent? They have to tell you they're an FBI agent. I guess that's the law they used to go by. But the fact is that it's that same kind of thing. Talking to a being and straight up and asking it certain questions, gives a universal law for that being to respond back with its name, etc. And that's why what we were also talking about this morning is I believe 100% that this is exactly how the universe wanted us to approach everything that was external to us, is to do that with knowledge, with spirit, and with mental strength, balance, all the things that we know to be what accompanies our true form, and approaching it like that so that we can get a true interpretation, a true monologue with or dialogue going on with it. And that's and there's just, again, I want to kind of save some of this stuff for the next show, but as far as the question, brother, definitely with the musical scale, if you're already familiar with the music, you can definitely do your own tuning. And the interesting part is that we do have the 432 and the different where we can tune it different, but I'm more than sure that you could do better, meaning that sound was never cohesive to anyone's particular rules. It's about still exploring sound and seeing what exactly it has to offer us, because I have a machine that goes up to 20 million hertz. Wow. So, and then the standard machine goes, to 20,000. Even the standard speaker can only go to 20,000, 18,000, etc. So if we're at 20 million, and that's why that cymatic, and that's where, I know you may have checked in on that already, but that cymatic is really what's going to be the transformative device, because not only do you get it in the frequency, you also get it through the visual. Then you see 100% what the sound looks like, and then you're using a language that is really universal. At least it'll get you around this universe if you know how to speak just tone. And, of course, if anyone on this planet was listening to you, they'd be like, man, he's just over there making noises, but I don't know what he's saying. But if you had it tuned up perfectly to where your voice, when singing it into water, it makes that shape that you see on the cymatic, then you know you're tuned up perfectly. Like they say, how you can tell a person's brain and where they're unbalanced is you tell them to take both hands and then draw two circles. And when they draw the circle, you can see where they're imbalanced in their mind. Little things like this is what has to be restored back into humanity so that they can definitely wake up from their slumber.
Thank you so much, brother, for that question. It was a really good question. All right, so we have about 2 minutes left. Was there anything else you wanted to share, Sevan?
Actually, no. I mean, I'm still elated off of the earlier conversation on the show. I'm just waiting for this one to end so I can go ahead and hit play again and just kind of take a lot of that in, because everything is really coming right on time, and that's to me the authentication of truth, is when you actually need it, and that's what we're bringing. We're just bringing truth strongly.
Mhm. That's exactly how it is. And I just wanted to add to kind of bring everything to close, that when the three bodies are united in any activity that you're doing, and you're able to work on that in your reality, when you start to experience the higher realities in your dreams, because you're capable of being disciplined and being able to concentrate daily with the three bodies, guess what? You'll be able to control your other bodies, your subtle bodies in those experiences as well. So in your daily reality, you have to be able to concentrate to make sure your thoughts are, not controlling you, but you're controlling it. And that's the whole thing about being present, being still, not being carried away by emotions, not being carried away by other energies, and not being activated by external energies such as currency. And that's also I wanted to add that it's really important that we support Sevan and that we support the resistance team in Costa Rica, because I'm really excited that there's going to be an institute there, and I've had an experience to visit Sevan and work with the team over there. And what they're going to be doing is just going to be incredible. It's exactly what we all need, to have a place where we can all come together. We're already a conscious community online. Now we need to be a conscious community in presence. And to have a place where we can practice, where we can study, where we can learn and engage in activation is just going to be a wonderful experience for many beings out there that want to be able to, go further in their journeys. And I totally experienced a change from visiting Costa Rica, and it's really an amazing place to live. And I just urge everyone that's listening, please support Sevan and support the team. And they really need your high energies, your vibrations to make this into a manifestation for us all. So I just wanted to say wholeness and balanced vibrations to everyone. And thank you so much for joining the Activated Body Show. Have a good day.